Good evening, everyone, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. Thank you so much for joining me today, whichever platform you're watching from, whether you're watching on Instagram or you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on the YouTube channel. You're welcome. Let me just make sure my volume is okay. All right, so thank you so much. ATP Live is a program where you can ask any questions that you may have about your children, health issues, and this live and just 1 hour. However, if you have any questions after the live session, you can also request directly to be there to answer your questions Mondays to Saturdays. So I want to welcome everyone and I want to encourage you to share the video, whichever platform you're watching from. Please share the video, invite your friends and family to be part of this so that we can, you know, learn together. All right, so I'm also going to do the same thing. I'm trying to share the videos to all our groups and making sure that everybody can see and everybody can hear me. So just give me a couple of minutes to do that. And I want you to also use the same time to uh, share the links. Let's invite friends and family. Um, If you have any questions, you can just drop your questions directly on whichever platform you're watching on. So whether you're watching on Ask the Pediatric Foundation Facebook page or you're watching on the YouTube channel or our Instagram page, you can just drop your questions straight on that link. However, if you are watching from ATP Family or ATP Still a Mom or any of the other groups that is not the Ask Pediatrician one, you will have to click on the video and then so that you can go straight to the video link and drop your questions there. All right. Okay, so I'll be able to see them. Otherwise, I may not be able to see them if you don't do that. But if you're on ATP Facebook group, if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, you don't have to go anywhere. You just drop your questions straight there, and I will see those ones. All right, just a few more minutes for me to share the link to all the other groups, and then we can start. Remember, so you're asking your questions. Try to go straight to the point and try to start with the age of the child, and tell us the age of the child. We're asking about weight, child not gaining weight. Try and tell us what the current weight is. We will not know, we will not be able to see pictures on this um, platform. So if you have question about rashes or things that require that we see it, we will encourage you to post those ones to our Facebook group directly, and we will answer those ones later. All right. Yesterday was the World Autism Day. Uh, April 2nd of every year has been set aside as a day for us to kind of create more awareness about autism. So I will do a little bit of talk on that. But if you want to know more about autism, I will be doing an ATP hour on Thursday on autism. Yesterday I was with a group of old students of one of the federal government colleges, and I was able to share with them about autism, and it was quite informative and a wonderful time with the ladies there. And so I'm looking forward to doing a similar session on on ATP Hour on Thursday. But if you have any question about autism, feel free to ask as well, because this is uh, the month for creating autism awareness. And some of you would have seen that on our pages and stuff. All right, I'm just taking time because I'm trying to share all the links, and I think I'm almost done now. So I believe everybody can see and everybody can hear us on all the various platforms now. So we can start answering the questions. So please drop your questions and let's start. I can't see any comments yet on Facebook, so I hope you can see me and hear me, because sometimes I think Facebook sometimes uh, have some glitches and people sometimes don't even know we're live. All right, let me just do a little bit of announcements. All right, I'm waiting for the questions. I'm not yet seeing any questions, so that's why I'm just waiting to answer the questions. And if there are no questions, I'm happy to just talk about autism. Um, okay. Uh, okay, let's go back. All right, I can see one person on Facebook. Thank you. Good evening, Facebook user. I can't see any question on Instagram yet. I hope I'm on the right Instagram and not my own Instagram. All right, let me just check the. Okay, yeah, I'm on the right Instagram. Okay. All right. So welcome everyone. Welcome to ATP Live. ATP Live Monday is a time for answering questions and answers that may be related to the health of our children. So if you have any question, feel free to ask your questions now. Sorry, my this thing is moving up and down. All right. So feel free to ask your questions and then we will try and answer them. Um, just before I start, I can see your questions there coming in. Keep them coming in. But before I start answering the question, I'm just going to do a little bit of autism awareness. So autism is a condition where it's a neurodevelopmental condition where children basically struggles with communication, social interaction, and then they have their own peculiar, behavior, sometimes which can be quite repetitive. So it's a condition that can affect both children and adults, but usually will start in the childhood, and that's why we call it a neurodevelopmental condition. We really don't know why some children have autism. We think there may be some genetic factors, we think there may be some environmental factors, but we don't really know for sure. But we know it's not caused by vaccines, it's not caused by any of those things, all right? And children with autism, if they are diagnosed early and we give them the right support, they can thrive very well. So autism is a huge spectrum. In other words, all the children are different. If you see a child with autism, you have only seen one child with autism, because there are other they could be different. There are children with autism who can talk, and there are children with autism who cannot talk. There are children with autism who have normal intelligence, and there are children with autism who have severe or profound intellectual disability. There are people with autism who are very gifted and geniuses, and there are people with autism who needs help for everyday life. So it's a huge spectrum, and autism doesn't tend to occur alone. Sometimes there are what we call comorbid conditions, other conditions that come along with autism, like ADHD, um, some children have speech disability, speech and language impairments, and mental health disorders, specific learning disability. So there are many other things that can coexist with autism. So sometimes we have to treat both at the same time, and there are lots of professionals that are involved. But the most important thing for parents is to pick up a child early who has autism. So if your child is not talking by the age of 2 years, your child is not pointing, your child is not using gestures. Usually, children who have deafness or other reason for not talking, usually they compensate with gestures. So they will point, or they will show you what they are trying to do. They will describe with their hands. But children with autism may not talk, and they will also not use gestures. They don't tend to do pretend play. They tend to be on their own, like in their own world. That's how most parents would describe it. They are not interested in other people, other children. They tend to be, play alone and all that. So if you start noticing any of these features, or they do things repetitively, see some of them, they are spinning around in circles, they are walking on their tiptoes, they are very peculiar about the food they eat. They will not eat a particular food, or they will only eat a particular brand, or something like that. So if you start seeing, or they start covering their hairs to loud noises, or they will not touch certain textures, or they are very particular. They don't want haircuts and things like that. So if you see all these features in your child, then you should take that child to see a pediatrician. Usually, pediatrician, if it's just speech delay, you can see a speech therapist first. But if there are speech delay and all those other repetitive behavior, you should see a pediatrician. You can actually screen your child. If your child is between 16 to 30 months, you can do a screening online. We call it modified checklist for autism in toddlers, MCHATs. So if you go to go to your web browser and type MCHAT screening, MCHAT screening for autism, it will bring out those questions with about 20 of them, and you will answer those questions, and then it will give you a feedback. So usually, depending on how many fails your child has on that screening, if your child has up to like 8 or more fails, that is a very high risk for autism, and that child needs to have an autism assessment. If the child score less than 2, that is very low risk. You may not need to worry unless you have other concerns. If your child score between 3 and 7, it's moderate risk. So we need to do what we call an MCHAT follow up with a professional, and then we can decide whether the child should now go ahead to have autism assessment or not. So the most important thing for parents is, if you see a child who is having some of these developmental issues, please do not wish it away, or do not say, some people will tell you, oh, the child is just being slow, boys are slow to talk, this or that. Please don't take those advice. Don't listen to that. Take your child to see a speech therapist or a developmental pediatrician, so your child can have an early assessment, and then the child can get the right support. There's no need to hide our children who are on the autism spectrum. There are lots of famous people who are on the autism spectrum, and they are doing so well. The most important thing is to get the right support for children who could be on the autism spectrum. All right. So thank you so much for letting me use 10 minutes to first of all talk about autism, because yesterday was the World Autism Day. It's a day for creating awareness about autism. And since it was a Sunday, we just put up our flyers. But today I'm happy to, that's why I did a little bit of talk about autism. But if you want more, join me on Thursday at ATP Hour, still on all these platforms you're watching on, except from Instagram. Or you can also listen on Fresh Waves Radio, or you can listen on my podcast, Ask Dr. Bemi ATP Podcast, and we'll go into more details about autism spectrum disorder, and how to get support, especially for those of us who live in Nigeria, where we have very limited access to resources. There are other ways we can get help, and I'm happy to talk more about that on Thursday, because it's a whole hour. So if I start talking about autism now, we will not have time to answer your questions. All right, so we'll do that on Thursday. All right, just 1 minute. I need to put my laptop charger. All right, so I can see a lot of questions have come in. I'll start to answer them now. Let's start with Instagram. Instagram people are very patient with me. The first question on Instagram is by I I TYT cakes or something like that. Yeah. My 3-year-old scratches his bum. Okay, so you've just provided an information. You have not asked any questions. So when you're asking questions, start with the age of your child. Tell us what your concerns are and ask specific questions. So if you didn't ask specific questions, I would not want to assume what you're thinking or what you want me to do with that information. So you really need to be specific with your questions so that we will know. And if you're telling us about something your child is doing, you have to be very specific. You have to tell us how long it has been going on, what you have done about it, what are the other symptoms about it, so that it's there's a context. So if you just say a child scratches bum, but if a child just scratches bum once and that was it, nobody's going to worry about that. So you have to give us more information. This like child is always doing it for is it every day? For how long has that been going on? Are there rashes that you can see that those are the way by which that information will make meaning, and then what you want us to do, because you may have done something already, so we need to know what you've done or what you want us to provide in addition to maybe what you may have done as well. So White, if you're still listening, feel free to update that question, because the way it is right now, it's not really I don't really understand what you're trying to ask or what you want us to do about it. All right, thank you. Instagram, feel free to drop your questions. Let's go to Facebook. Um, the first person from Facebook is from Alex Chinedu Juliet. Good evening, Doc. Thank you for the good work you're doing. Thank you. Please, my question is on how to win a child. Okay, thank you, Alex Juliet. Okay, so winning from the perspective of a pediatrician means you want to stop breastfeeding completely. That is what winning means. Please, winning is not when the child starts to take complementary feeds and you are also breastfeeding along with it. That is complementary feeding, and we don't win children at 6 months. So from 6 months, we start complementary feeding. The reason why I'm trying to say that is that sometimes people mix up weaning and complementary feeding. So from 6 months you start complementary feeding, but you keep on breastfeeding. So but from our own perspective, weaning is when you stop breastfeeding completely. So maybe usually we recommend that you breastfeed for at least 2 years and beyond. I know most of you will always like scream about the 2 years. At least the longer you breastfeed, the better for you, the better for the baby. So when you're ready to stop, then there are different options. There are actually some children that stop on their own, and they just save you all the stress. So that is what we call child-led weaning. Some children just stop breastfeeding on their own, and this tends to happen especially for mothers that are working, and most time they are not with their babies for hours and hours through the day. So sometimes the children just realize that this mother's milk is not available. Let me just forget about it. But most mothers who are still breastfeeding, the children really like the breast milk, which is quite good. And then you feel, okay, I think I've done enough. I want to stop. Then that is what we call mother led weaning. And we recommend that when you want to wean your child, you do it gradually. In other words, if you have been breastfeeding throughout the day along with your complement, you decide to reduce it to maybe only nighttime breastfeeding. You may therefore want to stop the daytime breastfeeding and then do only nighttime breastfeeding, and then gradually you stop. Then one day you just suddenly stop. However, we recommend that you don't wean a child who is not yet taking adequate complementary feed. So before you start thinking of weaning, make sure that child is eating well. The child is eating very well, the child is not sick, and everything else is fine. So don't win your child when they are sick. Don't win them when they are. That's the time they're still being fussy about food, and breast milk is still one of the main favorites. So make sure they're already fully on family diets, and they are otherwise well, that is when you start to win. So there are a lot of tips on winning. We have it on our website. So you can go to askthepediatricians.com and look for simple tips for winning. So when you stop breastfeeding, of course, your breast will still be full, and so we recommend that you wear firm bra, something to keep them in. You may sometimes have to press out a little bit of the milk and put some warm compress. You just put towel in hot water, drain out the water, and just put it a little, just to give you some relief. You can also take painkillers, but usually within 2-3 days, all those will resolve. However, make sure you yourself, you are psychologically ready to win your child, because I see a lot of mothers will tell me, oh, when trying to win my child, but the child is crying too much, and I decided to give the child the breast milk again because I can't stand it. So that means the mother, you yourself, you are not ready. So some people find it easier maybe to take the child to the parents, to the grannies and all that for the weekend, and just make them forget it. So whatever you do, it's not going to be easy for you or the child. So, but you must be ready that I'm ready to win. And then you do it. And but within 2-3 days, the child will forget about it, and your breast should come back to normal. But if you want more tips, you can get that on our Ask the Pediatricians Foundation website. I'm sure you can see the link behind me for this on Facebook. All right, let's move on. Somebody said my baby won't sleep for 2 hours. It won't even sleep when the AC is on. When you're asking questions, start with the age of your child. My baby does not really make much meaning to the pediatrician. All right, so my baby won't sleep for 2 hours. Doesn't make sense, because if your baby is an 8-year-old, I don't expect baby to sleep for 2 hours as an 8-year-old. So you really need to be very specific the age of the child, because a pediatrician sees children from the age of 0 to 18 years. So we always like to know what category we're dealing with. All right. Somebody said we're trying to switch to complementary feeding and it won't accept anything. I don't know whether this is the same Facebook user that was saying my baby cannot sleep. So for those of you who are on the Facebook group, I can't see your name. So unless you give StreamYard the permission to show your name. So I can't see your name. So I'm only seeing Facebook user. So don't just write comments as if I'm with you in your room and I'm seeing you and I'm having a conversation with you. Be very mindful of the fact that I can only see what you've written. So you have to be very specific. Try to put all the information in one comment. Start with the age of the child. Tell us what your concerns are. Tell us what you want us to do about it. And try and put everything in one comment. Don't break it, because I won't be able to link which one you started with, which one you are ending with, because I'm not seeing your name. And if I don't have the right information, the right context, everything together is a wasted effort, because I won't be able to help you. So if you are the first thing that puts about my baby won't sleep for 2 hours or another, that comment is not appropriate. So I can't help you. Repost the question, start with the age of your child, and state everything you need to state. The same thing with the person who wrote about complementary feeding. I don't have clue what you're talking about. Start with the age of your child. Tell me what you've done and what you want me to do about it. All right. Thank you. Somebody saying, thank God and Dr. Mark trying to function the field of your specialty. In Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. Next question. Good evening, doctor. My baby has rashes close to 2 weeks now. I went to see a pediatrician and she was given hydrocortisone cream and I was advised to change her milk. I've stopped giving her milk for a week now. I've used the cream for 7 days. Yeah, the rashes is still there and itches. What can you do? Okay, oh, I guess you mean what can I do? All right. Okay, so I'll recommend that you go back to your pediatrician. So this is the most basic of all things people ask on ATP, and I always wonder why people don't know that. If you ever been to a doctor for treatment and your child is not better, go back. We always call it follow up. In fact, most of us will actually have given you a date to come back. So doctors expect you to come back to them when they treat your child, even whether the child is better or when, as I mean, especially when the child is not better, you should always go back to the doctor. So most of the time, we try to give you a date and say come back in 1 week or come back in 2 weeks, and most average doctors, a very good doctor, would have told you if your child is not better, come back and see me in 3 days, come back and see me in 5 days, and all that. But I'm not sure whether people don't tell us that anymore, or maybe the doctors already assume you should know that. But let me, on behalf of all the pediatricians and all the doctors, tell you for free today that if you've been to a doctor, any doctor for anything, and the child is not better, or even the adults, anyone, the next thing to do is to go back. We call it follow up. Go back for follow up. So your doctors will look at the treatment again, and then they will advise you what to do next. Now, let me tell you, that doesn't mean that your doctor is not a good doctor. Because a lot of people think when they go to a doctor and we recommend treatment and it doesn't work, or the child is not better, or the problem has not gone away, oh, that means that that doctor is not very good. No, that does not what it means. Doctors, we are not magicians, we are not God, we are not oracles, we are not, we are not divinity. So the way doctors work is that when you come to us, you tell us what is wrong with your child. We look at the child, we examine the child. At every point in time, we're always thinking of 2, 3, or 4 things that may be causing that problem, all right? Except for very few things that are just so classical, like once you see this, you know this is it. Sometimes doctors have, we are not always 100% sure. We're just thinking that this is the most likely, so we call it differential diagnosis. So we think this is the most likely cause of this rash. So you've gone to your doctor thinks this rash is most likely an allergic rash. Maybe it's due to your milk that you've just introduced, and he's changed the milk, he's giving you hydrocortisone, and that is the way the doctor is treating the child. And based on that assumption, the doctor will expect the child to get better. But if your child is not better, it's also a possible, there's also a possibility that that is not the diagnosis. It's possible there's something else that is causing the rashes. That is number one. So it may be that the diagnosis was wrong, and we just need to change. It may mean we have to think of the other 2 or 3 options we were thinking about before, other differential diagnosis. But if you don't go back to the doctor will not know. And some of you, instead of you to go back to your first doctor, you go back to a second doctor. Then the second doctor starts all over again and also starts with number one. And then you are going to go, you keep on. So it's better to go back to the same doctor so that they will know, oh, I've tried, I thought this was it wasn't this one, and let me try this other option. That is number one. Number two is maybe the diagnosis is correct, but the treatment is not, the child is not responding to it. So for whatever reason, some people just don't respond to what is common treatments, for everybody. So for example, we say everybody has malaria, give them Coartem or HCC anti-malaria. For one reason or another, some people, the diagnosis is correct, it's still malaria, but some people will not respond to that particular anti-malaria that you give. And so sometimes the doctor just have to give a different or a new medication that may still work for the child as well. So that is why you have to go back to the doctors. All right. So sometimes it may even be that the medication you bought is maybe it's the fake one, it's not the correct one. So these are all the things that we have to triage. These are all the things we have to go through. So whenever a child is or anyone is not better on treatment for doctors, please go back. And you don't have to wait till you finish the entire treatment. You don't have to wait forever before you go back. Once you've started treating your child 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, the child is not better, just go back. Or make it a habit as well. Whenever you go to your doctors and they recommend treatment, always ask, doctor, do I need to come back for follow-up? When should I come back? And a good doctor would have told you, okay, if in 2, 3 days this is not clearing, come back and see me for follow-up. Or sometimes, even if it is better, they still just want to see you for follow-up to make sure that we're on track. So it is very, very important that we go back for follow-up. So if you've been to a doctor, if things are not better, always go back. So for the person who asked this question, thank you for that question, because giving me an opportunity to educate everybody on that importance of follow up. Always go back for follow up. And some of you, doctor will say come back, and things have gotten better. Just thank God, I don't need to go back to the doctors again. Please always go back. Sometimes doctors ask us to come back for other reasons. Okay. For example, in my field, let's say I treat a child with seizures, and I've given medication. The medication is working, but we still need to see the child. All right. So don't say, oh, but the child no longer have conversions anymore, so I don't want to go back. You have to still go back, because sometimes we need to still keep treating that child even though the child appears not to be having symptoms again. And unfortunately, some parents will just go and stop the drug and forget about it, and then the thing will now come back worse, So please always go back, especially when your doctors have asked that you should come back for follow up. All right, I hope that is helpful for the person who asked that question. All right, let's just move on to the next one. Good evening. Uh, how many months will I talk? I think you want to say, will I take? How many months will it take to deworm babies? Because my baby will be 3 months tomorrow, and we're on EBF. Deworm baby. You don't need to deworm your 3 months old. Please continue to breastfeed your 3 months old exclusively. Deworming is from age of 1 year. And even after the age of 1 year, it's every 6 months, okay? So there's no need to deworm a 3 months old baby. Just leave baby alone. Just keep breastfeeding exclusively. All right, Julius, you're welcome. Facebook user, you are still not doing what I asked you to do. So write everything together. The age of your baby, the problem, everything has to be in one post. There are like about 4 Facebook users in front of me. I don't know which one is your own. So you better do the right thing if you want to get the right information. Sometimes I worry when you give instructions on Facebook group and people cannot follow that instruction properly. Then I wonder what is the essence of me giving you more complex instruction about the health of your child, because will you be able to follow that as well? So so this is a test as well. So please, your ability to be able to follow the instruction on this platform is going to give me assurance that when I now tell you this is how to treat your child, you are going to be able to follow that instruction. So the instruction is start with the age of your child, put the problem together, everything together. It doesn't matter what you've posted before, you have to do it all over again. Put everything in one post, because like I said, I'm not seeing your name, so I can't link your first post, your second comment. I won't link it together. All I'm seeing is Facebook user, Facebook user. So it's very important for you to listen to my instruction and do what I ask you to do if you really want me to be able to help you. All right. Okay, another person said my baby is 12 months, weight was 3.5 at birth, 10 kg now. Okay, that's good. That's perfect. I get you meant refuse. So please try and slow down when you are typing so that you don't. Some typing, I'm beginning to guess what you meant because it's not correct the way it is typed. I guess you mean your child is refusing to take any food except breast milk. He's yet to walk. I get his walk, WALK, not WRK. Anytime we try to make him walk, okay, he's always afraid and he'll be shaking because of fear. All right, number one, let's start from the last part. You don't need to force your child to walk until they are ready to walk. Leave the child alone. When the child is ready to walk, the child will get up and walk. You don't need to make him to walk. You don't need to force him to walk. You don't need to help him to walk. Just let the baby be alone, okay? And nobody is worried about the age of 1 year. I know you are worried about birthday and you want your child to stand up and walk for the birthday. You don't have to worry about that. Just let the baby alone. Some babies will not walk, and we are not worried until they are not walking by 18 months. So this baby still has at least 6 months to walk. So just let the baby be. All right. You don't need to teach them how to walk. You don't need to teach babies how to sit. You don't need to teach them how to crawl. I know parents always think you can teach all those milestones. You can't. There are things children develop and they're able to do it because their brain has matured to that point and it tells them now it is time to walk, it is time to crawl, it's time to sit. It is the brain that determines that. It's not you putting them and forcing them to do it that will make them do it. So You're only just giving yourself unnecessary anxiety. So just let the baby be. When they are ready to walk, they will get up and walk. So that is number one. And but if your baby is not walking by 18 months, that is when it becomes a concern for the pediatrician, and that is when you should see us. All right. Now, for your baby's eating, your baby's weight is actually perfectly okay, which is good. So we have a lot of tips on babies who don't like to eat. I always like to recommend first that you go through our complementary feeding guide section. So you're on our Facebook group. So if you go to the guide section, guide 2 is complementary feeding. We have a lot of tips on complementary feeding, how you do it. Because I find that sometimes this is because we as parents, we don't have the right information. We are not going about feeding the children the right way, or we have unnecessary expectation of quantity or frequency of feeding and all that. So I will recommend for your baby who is not eating, who is refusing to eat any food, the weight is perfect, which means what that tells me is that that child is eating enough to maintain a healthy weight. So there's no need to panic for now. So what you need to do is to now, go through all those our complementary feeding guides, watch the videos, look through the tips, and try to just adjust and try and offer a little food at a time. Don't try to force them to eat everything, and be patient, be patient and be persistent. So I will just leave it at that point. All right, let's go back. I'll take one more question on Facebook, then I'll go back to Instagram. Pierre Ugochi, my son stopped sucking breast at 10 months. Okay, he'll be 11 months on the 16th. He eats all adult food so well. My breast is not paining me. Should I be worried? Well, I won't really say you should be worried. Normally, we want your baby to breastfeed for up to 2 years and beyond. For your baby to have stopped breastfeeding at 11, 10 months, I think you must have been overdoing the complementary feeding. Either you are not there to breastfeed and it's only the complementary feeding the child is getting, or some mothers consciously or unconsciously replace breastfeeding with the complementary feeds. It's a very tricky situation, because parents are always trying to make the child to eat other food, and then they kind of just forget to breastfeed, or they don't have the time, or they are not even there to breastfeed. So we always want you to remember that breastfeeding should not be reduced. When you start complementary feeding, you should keep breastfeeding and add of the food. So unfortunately, a lot, especially working mothers, they just, everything just become a replacement feeding, which is actually wrong. But if your baby has already stopped breastfeeding, there's something you can do about it. But what you need to do is that your child still needs milk. An 11-month-old baby still need a lot of milk. So you need to give age appropriate formula to make sure that your child is getting that milk. So that's what I would recommend that you do. Make sure you go get age appropriate formula for your child, at least for now. When your baby is about 1 year old, then they can start taking the regular family milk. All right. So, but to avoid this situation, make sure you don't reduce breastfeeding, whether consciously or unconsciously. Make sure you are breastfeeding as much as you were doing when your baby was only on breast milk, when you start complementary feeds as well. All right, let's go back to Instagram, people. Uh, da, da, da. White case. I think you posted your question again, but maybe you left because you've not done the correction I said. Somebody, Amus Lawumi said, my baby is 1 year, 3 weeks. Can I deworm her? Yes, you can. And what's the implication of not deworming a baby? There's no implication beyond that. The fact that your babies can have worms, and worms, what do worms do? They kind of feed on the food the baby is eating, so your baby may not gain weight. Some of them, they suck blood. Some of them suck blood, so your child may be having anemia, low blood level. So, and some of them can be so many they can block the intestine. So, those are the complications of children having worms. So we don't want all that because it's so easy to deal with. So it's as simple as just giving the child a worm expeller and the worms are out. So there's no reason why your child should have malnutrition, should have low blood level, should have obstruction of the intestine just because of worms is one of the easiest things to do, to deal with. And we live in a country. If you live in Nigeria, you live in one of those countries where there's what we call worm infestation is endemic. That means there's a lot of worms in our environment. So it is recommended by the World Health Organization that people, families, who live in those areas where there's a high prevalence of worms infestation should routinely deworm their children. So we recommend you start deworming from age of 1 year, and you should do it at least twice a year. That's every 6 months. It's one of the easiest things in the world to do, and it's no child should be malnourished or anemic because of worm infestation. All right, the next question from Ololade Tiwatokpe. My 1 year old, my 1 year, 4 month old is yet to walk, okay? But she's trying to stand little by little. All right, so if your baby is not walking by 1 year, 6 months, come and see the pediatrician, all right? So we give the children up to 18 months. By 18 months, if your child is not walking, see us. So let your child also has other developmental issues before, like was your baby born pre-time? Were there health issues that your baby had growing up? Or have you seen a pediatrician before about those issues? Then sometimes for those kind of babies that we're already anticipating that they will be slow. Sometimes we don't want you to wait. Just come and meet us as soon as possible. But if your child is otherwise a well child, no problem during delivery, no problem during pregnancy, no problem growing up, the child has been perfectly healthy, then you just wait until the child is 18 months and come and tell us if your child is not working. So whitey cakes, I'm not sure whether you left when I was answering your question. Your question the same complaints. You have to start with the age of your child. You have to tell us your concerns. What is your question? You're only telling us your baby is scratching his bum, but what is the question? You've not asked any specific question, and I'm not going to make assumptions about what is your question. So feel free to. I've explained what you need to do, but it's like maybe your left and your back. You have to tell us more information and what you want me to do with that information so that I will be able to address it properly. All right. Okay, let's go back to Facebook. Uh Okay, yeah, I know where I stopped. Okay, I've done PL. All right, yeah. The next question is say, okay, doc, I'll go back tomorrow, but in a teaching hospital, I may not see the same doctor I see the first time for the rashes. Okay, so yes, in teaching hospitals, we have lots of doctors. We have different categories of doctors. We have the consultants who is in charge. We have the training doctors who are training to become specialists. We have our house officers, we have our medical students, but we all write in the notes. So it doesn't matter which doctor you saw before, that doctor would have written what they think and what they've done. And so when the next doctor is seeing you, if you are lucky not to see the same doctor, sometimes you actually can see the same doctor. But if you are lucky or you are unlucky, let's put it that way, not to see the same doctor, they will be able to read what the other uh, doctor have written, and then they can take it up. And they always have somebody they can discuss with. If it's a children doctor saying you, they can always discuss with the consultants, and they will be able to advise them what to do. So you don't have to be scared of anything. So the more reason you should go back, and it doesn't matter which doctor you see, there's continuity of care, and that's why we have case notes. That's why we write in the case notes, so you don't have to worry at all. All right, thank you so much. The next question is by Facebook user. My people turn 11 months on the 16th. You stop sucking breast. Are you not the same person? PL, I think it's the same PL. I just answered your question. All right, I think I've just answered this one already. You are using two different platforms. All right, good evening, Doug. Between BFIS lights, when carried, birth weight is 2.8, current weight is 4.2. Twin hay have weight when carried, birth weight is 3.0, current weight is. I'm not sure what is that question. What is the question, Mama Twins? What is your question? Of course, your baby, one is bigger than the other, so that one will feel heavier than the one that is not as big. So, but that's not the. I don't know what your question is really. This is just information. You need to ask me specific question. All right. Somebody said I don't give him formula. I have no clue what this Facebook user is. All right. So Facebook user, if you are if you are putting like a follow-up comments, you also have to start all over again, because I won't know which of the comments is going with which. So I don't know who is saying I do give formula now, because I have no clue which one it is. But I hope you are happy with the question answer I've given. All right. Somebody is asking. Okay. This person said I do give formula is the same person saying I do give formula twice. All right, thank you. All right, okay. I guess I've answered all the questions I have on Facebook, on Instagram. For those who are just joining us, welcome to ATP Live Monday. Feel free to drop your questions. We still have like 15 minutes more to go before the program ends today. But not to worry, if you have questions beyond the live sessions, feel free to go to our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group. You can drop your questions there from Mondays to Saturday. You can't miss our Facebook group. I think we are one of the largest parents group on Facebook. So just look for Ask the Pediatrician. If you see any Ask the Pediatricians that is now up to 700,000 people, that is a fake one. There are a lot of fake Ask the Pediatricians on Facebook, but once you see our group, you will know. Then, of course, you will see me there in that group. So you will know that you're in the right group. All right. So you can ask your questions from Mondays to Saturdays, and our moderators, our professionals will try to respond to your question. If you have any health issues, for those of you who are adults, you can also post on ATP Family. So ATP Family is for the adults, while ATP is for the children. Also, we have our FTM Facebook group for the first time mothers, and we also have the ATP Still a Mom for those who need emotional psychological support following the loss of a child. Okay, so those are the four Facebook groups that we operate. And if you also want to listen to topics, if you want to read more about these topical issues affecting children, you can listen to my podcast, Ask Dr. Gbemi ATP podcast. It's available on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, on Amazon Music, most of the podcast platforms. You can listen to it. You can listen to different topics: immunization, complementary feeding, growth monitoring, hearing loss, everything. You can listen to it. Or if you would like reading, you can go to our website, www.askthepediatricians.com, and you can listen, you can read more about all these topics that we've talked about. And like I was telling those who started earlier with me, yesterday was World Autism Day, and I did a short presentation to create awareness about autism spectrum disorder, but I'll be doing a longer talk on Thursday. So every Thursday, I release a fresh episode on my podcast. And this week, I'll be talking about autism spectrum disorder because it's the World Autism Day, and that is my specialty. So I like to talk about autism. All right. So let me go back. I think I've had one more question come up. Somebody said, "Can I give my 7-month-old um, DHA formulated chocolate?" Which one is DHA formulated chocolate? Please don't give chocolate to a 7-month-old. Not allowed. No, 7 months old should be on breast milk. Okay, breast milk and complementary feeding. No junk. All right, chocolate drinks classify as junk for a 7-month-old. This is where we start getting problems. All right, we want to start giving 7 months old chocolate, then we don't say they don't eat. Why would they eat when we are giving them chunks? All right, so don't start where you can't finish. For 7 months old, breast milk and complementary feeds. And complementary feeds is not chocolate, it's not involved at all. So if for any reason you are not able to breastfeed, or you can't breastfeed long enough, you can give age appropriate formula that has DHA. That's fine, but not chocolate, please. Let's not start. A lot of mothers will be asking me, 6 months old, can I give biscuits? Can I give cheese balls? Can I give that? Oh my God. And then later, the same mother will know, oh, my baby is not eating, no, he's not eating, no, it's only cheese ball he wants to eat, it's only bread, it's only biscuits he wants to eat. Who started it? Who is at fault? I always tell mothers and fathers that your children don't know anything. Whatever they know, you introduce them to it as far as food is concerned. So any food the child does not know before, if you never offer it to them, they will never know such thing exists. So if your child is kind of obsessed with junk food, you started it. So let's be conscious that we don't introduce our children to junks right from the beginning. Let's give them healthy food, okay? There are fruits, there are other things that we can give our children that are healthy and not all this junk. So no chocolates, please. The only beverage a baby should take from 0 to 1 year is water and milk, nothing else. So even all these our chocolate beverages and all that is after 1 year that we even allow it. And moderation is the key. But before 1 year, nothing else beyond water and milk. And preferably breast milk. But if you can't do breast milk, at least do age appropriate formula. All right. Somebody say my twin B looks smaller. The difference is 1 kg, and I'm wondering why the difference in weight. Because everybody in life is different. Okay, the fact that they are twins does not mean they have to be exactly the same. I'm surprised you're asking that question. Okay, do you have as much money as Dangote yourself? All right, so please, there's no reason why the two babies have to be exactly the same weights. Okay, they were not the same weight when they were born. One was 2.8 at birth, one was 3 at birth. So they were already different at birth. And now, as they are growing older, the difference is still there. So that does not mean anything. There's no reason for you to worry. And make sure that you are not also, because twins, I don't know whether you have identical twins or not, but make sure you can identify them so that when you are feeding them, you feed one, okay? Because sometimes you won't know, is it this one I fed? Is it that one I fed? So make sure you tell them, record. There's no harm in any label them. Say this is kind of, this is twin A, this is twin B label. So you know, okay, it's twin A ahead and this if you are feeding them if you are feeding them for one. Number two, twins are not going to be exactly the same weight, and it is perfectly normal for them to have different weights and all that because they are going to be two different individuals. A lot of mothers always assume that twins should be the same. They are not the same. They are going to be different right from the time they are born to the. So there's nothing to worry about that. So right, so just relax. Okay, sorry, my baby of 3 days called card. Okay, I'm sure you meant called. Card has fallen. I always have this my sixth sense when it comes to what parents are asking, even when they write the wrong word. I use close up on it. Oh my god, don't use close up on the card. The close up is toothpaste. It is not it's not a cord care item at all. You must be very, very late to HCP because these are things we warn against. And I know people will be telling you, do this, do that. Don't listen to all those people that are telling you nonsense, okay? Don't use close up on the cord. Never do that. Don't put cow dung, don't put dusting powder, don't put what else do people put? Powder. Don't put hello. The only thing you should use on your cord for your baby is methylated spirit or chlorhexidine gel. And don't use the two together because a lot of mothers, I see you do that. That's over syllables. It's either you are using the chlorhexidine gel, which is what we recommend because you only need to apply the chlorhexidine gel once in the day, in the morning, and that will last for the entire day. But if you don't have chlorhexidine gel, or you prefer you use methylated spirit, the difference that methylated spirit you have to do it several times a day, every 3-4 hours. Each time you change the nappy, you must clean the cord again. So that is the only way to care for the cord. For those of you who live in Nigeria, for those of you who live abroad in cold region, temperate areas, you don't need to actually do anything to the cord. You just leave it to dry. Just leave it to dry. That's all they recommend for you. But if you live in Nigeria, if you live in warm, humid area where we have a lot of bacterial infection, you use either methylated spirits or chlorhexidine gel. All right. So if your baby is running temperature, please take that baby to the hospital. Uh, one of our members lost a baby recently, and I was very unhappy about it. All right, so for newborn babies, every fever in them is serious, okay? Because sometimes newborn babies don't even show you sign, they don't even have fever, they will just be, quiet, they will just be on inactive, and that is telling us they are not well. So when newborn babies are sick to the point of showing you fever, please go to the hospital straight away and don't assume malaria. I know a lot of you people, everything in fever is malaria, everything in fever is malaria. And even when you have newborn babies, you are still thinking there is malaria. No. When newborn have fever, malaria is not number one. It is sepsis, infection. I did a podcast on sepsis recently. Somebody actually asked me for that. You can listen to it on my podcast, or you can watch it on this platform. Just search for sepsis podcast. So when a newborn baby is having fever, we're worried about sepsis, and it can progress very fast. And that baby that died, the baby had seizures. By that, they were just treating malaria, and then the next thing, baby started having convulsion. That is meningitis, and the next thing, baby is dead. So I was very unhappy about that. So please don't trivialize illnesses in newborns. Newborns till the age of 2 months, those age group, everything is an emergency in them, everything is urgent in them. Any little symptom, please find your way to the hospital, and preferably an hospital with a pediatrician. Don't take newborn babies to all these malaria typhoid treating doctors. And that's also there's some doctors, the only thing they treat is malaria and typhoid. Private hospitals, please don't take newborn babies to them. Take newborn babies to the general hospital or teaching hospital or a private hospital with a pediatrician. Let a pediatrician always be the one to see a newborn baby for any symptom, any illness they have. I am very, very particular about that. Okay. I know some people say I don't have money. Everything is not money. Okay. Some you go to government hospital, you won't pay consultation fee for to see a pediatrician. So take your baby there. They may ask you to go and buy your drugs or do your test, yes. But at least to see the pediatrician, you're not going to pay. So that one I'm sure of. So please, let's not do this. So this mom, take your baby to the hospital. Stop your close up. Take the baby to the hospital now. Even now. As I'm talking now, please be going to the hospital now. When they get to the hospital, if they check the baby and they are not worried, it's better. I don't want what happened last time to happen, So please, let's take it closely. Yeah. Okay, it's the same person. All right, there's a question here on Instagram. Peace. Say, hello, doc. My baby's head position during labor was not straight down. Okay. And I did an emergency CS. Okay. She's 10 weeks now and still balding and tilting her head to one side. Should I be worried? Okay. So, number one, your baby's head at birth has nothing to do with baby bending the neck or tilting the head now. They are not related at all. Your doctors, I know you are trying to explain in your own words to me the reason why they do the CS. So I guess what they are trying to tell you is that the position of the baby is not compatible or favorable for a vaginal delivery. So that's why they did the CS. But it's not the reason why your baby should be tilting the head to one side after birth. It has nothing to do with the delivery position at all. There are reasons for that. There are some babies may have what we call a sternocleidomastoid tumor. I don't want to use medical jargon, but like one of the muscle on around the neck area may have become injured and swollen, so it kind of shorten the neck on that side, so the baby kind of bended to that side. Or sometimes there are other reasons. So why not let's take this baby to see a pediatrician, let them have a look at the baby, and then we can advise you further. But it definitely has something to do with the delivery being cesarean section or not. All right. Please, when can I give my baby? Please, what can I give my baby as she starts solid? That is nonuju. Nonuju, the best thing you need to do first is you need to go and watch all those complementary feeding videos. You're on Instagram. If you can get to Facebook or YouTube, look for Ask the Pediatrician. We have all those videos on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, or you can download the Baby Birth and Beyond, BIRTH and Beyond app. It's available for free on iOS Store or Google Play Store. Download that app. All those complementary feeding videos are there. It tells you when to start, what to start with. There's so much information you need to know about it. Or you can also listen on my podcast on feeding your baby in the first 1,000 days, or complementary feeding. I think I've done like not less than 2 or 3 of those kind of videos. I really podcasts. I think you should listen to them first. So your question, what can I give my baby? It's not a straightforward A, go and give A, or go and give B. No, you need to understand the concept of complementary feeding. And this is something you're going to be doing for the next 2 years. So you need to really understand how to go about it, how to increase it, how often you need to give it. There is nothing your baby cannot hit. That is the honest truth. But the texture, the quantity, the frequency, those are going to vary from 6 months to 9 months to 1 year to 2 years. So I don't like answering that question. Like, it's not a one line answer. It's a course. It's a whole course answer kind of. So, and if you don't get it right, we're going to get frustrated along the line. So I always recommend first that you go through our complementary reading guide. So it's available on Facebook, it's available on YouTube, or you can download that app that I just mentioned now and watch the Global Health Media. They've done all these videos on complementary feeding. The first thing is to get that information on what complementary feeding is, how to go about it, so that when you are armed with the right information, it becomes smooth sail. But if you just go, I should go and give that one, go and give that one, you're going to end up having a lot of frustration down the line. So that is how I'm going to answer that question. All right. Okay. I hope it's helpful. I think our time is up, and we've answered all the questions, which is quite good today. Thank you so much for those of you who have joined me today on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. I didn't see any question from YouTube, but I believe somebody is listening on YouTube or on our Facebook pages or Facebook groups. Thank you so much for listening in today. So I will recommend that if you still have any question, you can post your question. Somebody is asking what's the name of the app. Let me write it. So that Birth and Beyond. It is made by Global Health Media Video. Global Health Media, they have been fantastic. They created all these very short 5-6 minutes videos on breastfeeding, on complementary feeding, on the care of the small babies. And what is so amazing about it is available in English, it's available in Yoruba, it's available in Hausa, it's available in multiple languages. So no excuses like I can't hear Oyinbo. You can hear it in your local dialect as well. Let me write it for those on Instagram as well. So Birth and Beyond Hub, all right. Beyond Hub. If you scroll down our page as well on Instagram, I'm sure you'll see my kind of introduction about this Birth and Beyond Hub. So you can go through it, and all those videos are there. Why I love the app is the fact that you can download those videos and have it on your phone, so you can always watch it and watch it. You don't need to watch it again with the internet because it's already downloaded to your device. All right. So if you still have any question, feel free to post it on the on our page. Somebody is asking the Facebook page for the first time. I mean, for the new mom, we'll call it first time mom. You can't miss it as well. First time mom, FTM baby care group. So you can also join there. Um, Somebody's asking what is Jedi Jedi. That one I cannot answer now because it's a long time. But if you want this to be, the short answer is there's nothing like Jedi Jedi medically. All right. So because I've asked people what they meant when they say they have jadi, and I got 20 different answers. I'm talking about people like you on Facebook, on our group. So we got 20 different medical conditions. So whether it's diarrhea, whether it's dysentery, whether it's back pain, whether it's prolapse, rectal prolapse, and other, even rashes. People call everything jadi. So I don't like people using the word jadi when they're asking questions. Just tell me what is the symptom your child has, and let me figure out the medical equivalents, because that word is used for almost anything. And like I told you, I got 20 different answers when I had people to describe to me what they meant by JD. When they say they have JD, I got 20 different answers. It's on our face, it's on our website. If you want to read the answers I got. So it's there's no one equivalent of it in medical jargon. So we don't like you using labels or diagnostic label. Just tell us my baby can do this, my baby cannot do this is the symptoms I see. Then let us worry about the diagnosis. But if you just come up with a label, it doesn't really help anybody. All right. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm always getting distracted. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. If you have any questions still, and for if you're also just joining late, no problem. You can always post your question on Ask the Pediatrician's Facebook group from Mondays to Saturdays. Unfortunately, next week I won't be here because it's Easter Monday. So happy Easter in advance to all the Christians who are listening to me. So enjoy your Easter holidays. I won't see you next week Monday, but by God's grace, I'll be back. I hope on Monday, but definitely on Thursday, I'll be doing a presentation on autism. I encourage you to listen to that. And if you have any question, feel free to post the question on our Facebook group, and I will do justice to it with time. All right. So Donu Ju, your baby, if your baby is having stolling, is having rashes, you have to take your baby to the hospital. Don't say it's jadi. You just take your baby to the hospital. Don't take diagnosis from people. Don't take anybody's diagnosis from around your neighborhood. Take your baby to the hospital. Somebody is asked whether you can send us a DM. No, you can't send us a DM. We don't answer question on our DM, but you can post your question on our Facebook group. Okay, we don't have the capacity to do DM on Instagram because our Instagram is handled by our admin team who is not necessarily a doctor. But on Facebook, if you put your questions there, our doctors come at their timing and then they can answer your questions, and we have some regularity around that, which unfortunately we don't have on Instagram. So feel free to post on our Facebook group and we'll do that. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. I'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. Till then, bye. Bye. Have a wonderful week. Bye.